And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fifth segment, we are going to be looking at the NBA in-season tournament games. This is, for some teams, it's the second stage of the group play. For some teams, it is the third stage of the group play. So we're going to go ahead and look at and predict some of these games. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and there we go. You guys can see this this list. This should give you a better understanding of where each team currently is ranking in the, not just in point differential, but also in team record, just based off of their groups and their standings. So, as you could see, the Orlando Magic and the Knicks, they have the exact same record. However, the tiebreaker between these two is the point differential. Orlando, they had that huge win against the Charlotte Hornets, and that propelled them all the way up to the top spot. And they also ended up beating Philly because Philly is absolutely awful. And, I mean, the Knicks, they're right there, but it doesn't really seem like they're going to, at least at this rate, it doesn't seem like they're going to win in the Group A standing, so they might not even participate. Then in Group B, you have, surprisingly, the Pistons. They have a 2-0 record, despite the fact that if Milwaukee can win in another game in the group play, then they should end up taking the top spot in their entire group, in Group B, because the point differential isn't really all that much. And not to mention the Pistons are going to have to go up against Indiana in Game 3. The Bucks, they also don't have an easy road. They have to go up against Indiana in Game 2. But that's how the standings work, and that's where it is. Miami Heat, they dropped a game, so that's why they're in the middle. And the Pacers and the Raptors, they have still yet to win a game in the group play. Next, in Group C, the Hawks, they're undefeated, as well as the Cavs. The Cavs, they have a much better point differential, so if they win against the Celtics, then most likely they're going to end up moving up. Depending on how much they beat the Celtics, or depending on how much they lose to the Celtics, because they do play the Celtics tonight, they could end up still being ranked at number 2, because then they'll be tied with the Boston Celtics. But the tiebreaker, the point differential, is going to be, for Cleveland, is still going to be greater than the Celtics, which will keep them in the number 2 spot. So they just have to make sure that they don't lose by more than 18 points, or more than 20 points, really, and then they'll still maintain that second spot in the group play. Then in the Western Conference, you have Houston and you have Portland. Houston has the highest point differential, which is why they're up. Same thing with OKC and the Lakers, and same thing with this group right here. Now, when you break it all down and go into the standings, right? The Knicks, they're the team that's going to end up having a wild card spot. So it's only one wild card spot per conference. So the way that it works is that the leaders for each group play. As you could see, Orlando's the leader, Detroit's the leader, and Atlanta's the leader. For each leader in the group play, they're automatically given a spot in the tournament. And then the wild card spot just goes to whichever team has the better record, the better point differential, and more points, all that stuff in the tiebreakers. So you could see the Knicks, they have by far the best record amongst anybody else in the group play, and that's the reason why they right now currently hold the wild card spot. Then over in the Western Conference, the Golden State Warriors, they have the best record, not just in the entirety of the Western Conference, but in their group play as well. Same with Houston and same with the Thunder. And the point differential for Portland is a big reason why they're in, and it's the only reason, it's the tiebreaker for why they are ranked at number 4 and they're holding the wild card spot, as opposed to the Lakers, the Lakers could take the wild card spot because they do play the Jazz, and they play the Jazz at home. I'm picking the Lakers for that matchup. And speaking of which, we have somebody in the chat. How long will CeeDee Lamb stay a Cowboy? I have no idea. But if he gets fed up with Dak Prescott, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up leaving. Not entirely sure how much money other teams are going to be willing to give him, but I think it seems like he's probably going to stay a Cowboy for a while. I don't really see CeeDee Lamb like really leaving the Cowboys. Not just for next season. I don't really see him leaving at all. I mean, he recently signed a 4-year, $136 million contract with Dallas, which includes a $38 million signing bonus and $100 million guaranteed. So I don't think that he's really going to end up leaving the Cowboys anytime soon, especially after signing this deal. And I don't really think that other teams are going to be willing to trade for him, especially with all the money that he's going to be making. Again, we'll have to see. But, I mean, if he gets tired of Dak, then maybe he's going to want to leave. But for now, he's probably going to stay a Cowboy for these next 4 years. And going back to NBA and in-season tournament play, the Nets, they're going to play the Charlotte Hornets. I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to pick the Hornets in this matchup. I have a lot more faith in the Hornets and their roster than I do in the Brooklyn Nets, despite the fact that the Nets play at home. I think that LaMelo Ball is a very difficult matchup for the Nets, especially a team that doesn't really have much perimeter defenders. I don't think they're going to be able to stop LaMelo. While I do think that there is a chance that the Hornets can stop Cam Thomas from scoring. So I'm going to pick the Hornets in this matchup. Next, the Mavericks, they're going to go up against the Pelicans. I'm going to pick the Mavericks in this matchup. I feel like Luka Doncic should be playing in this, regardless if he's not. The Pelicans are rather short-handed, and I don't really think that the Mavericks are going to end up losing to the Pelicans. I just don't really see that happening, but that's just me. Now, I already said that I think the Lakers are going to beat the Jazz. The Jazz are one of the worst teams in the entirety of the Western Conference, and the Lakers are going to have to win by a lot of points if they want to make sure to get that wild card spot in the Western Conference standings. So that way they actually, if they end up beating the Jazz in this matchup, then let me just go ahead and check real quick. They're going to be the number one team in their standings, like in their group play. I'm pretty sure that the Thunder, they might end up beating the Spurs. I mean, it's going to be really difficult because they're not going to have a center, and not having a center is just going to give Victor Wembanyama like a field day going up against the Thunder. So that matchup is going to be really, really close. I actually don't know like which team would end up coming out on top. But regardless, if the Lakers want to be number one in their group play, then they're going to have to win by a lot of points against the Jazz. And regardless if they're not in the group play, then they'll hold the wild card spot and replace Portland because they'll have the better record. But for the Thunder, I think the Thunder it's going to be a bit of a challenge because assuming Victor Wembanyama plays in this matchup, the tallest player in the starting lineup for the Thunder is going to be a 6'6" SGA. I don't think that anyone on the Thunder is going to be able to guard Victor Wembanyama in this game at all. However, this could also work against the Spurs because they might end up doubling Victor Wembanyama. But regardless, I don't think that... I think I'm going to pick the Spurs in this matchup. I just have way too much faith in Victor Wembanyama. It's like he's going to be playing against like little children. Like when you compare his height to the rest of the players in the Thunder's roster right now, I think the Spurs are going to end up coming out on top. Now, if Chet was in this game, this would be a completely different story, but he's not. So I think I'm going to go with the Spurs on this one. I think the Spurs are going to upset the Thunder. I could be wrong on this one, though. Next, the Nuggets, they're going up against the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going to pick the Nuggets in this matchup. I have a lot of faith in Nikola Jokic. I have no doubt that he's going to end this game with a triple-double, and I don't really think there's going to be anybody on the Grizzlies roster that is going to be able to stop Jokic. So those are my predictions. I have one team upsetting a very high-seeded team. I think the Thunder are going to drop this one. And it's really, the only reason why I think that is because they don't have Chet Holmgren to answer to Victor Wembanyama. So that's all that I have in this fifth segment, and that's it for the show. So thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, we love to hear what you guys have to say during the show, whether you guys have a hot take, whether you guys have a burning question, or anything that you're just dying to share. We're all ears. And if you really want your comment and or question to get noticed, then you can use Super Chat, or you can use the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment, gsmcpodcast.net, and you can send in your comments and or donations that way. That's all that I really have to say about the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna